Well, it was backlash for President Biden speaking to the new graduates at Morehouse College. He tried to paint Trump in a bad light, but it seems like this upcoming generation saw right through the gaslighting. Let's bring in our panel now. Pleased to have RNC Youth Advisory Council co-chair and author of the great book, One Generation Away, Brilyn Hollyhand, and also pleased to have former Assemblyman of California, Mike Gatto, who has a few kids, right, Mike? I lose count because you're a busy dad. How many kids?
I have 3 and I want 7 more.
That's what it is. So he's on track. A lot of youth going to be around Mike Gatto today. Guys, welcome in. Good to see you both.
Great to see you.
Hey, Bianca, thanks for having us.
Always a pleasure. All right, so let's look at this recent New York Times poll. Trump leading 5 key states. Poll numbers show young voters are expressing discontent with Biden. So, Brilyn, obviously there were some, folks at Morehouse turned their back to him. We definitely know that there is a lot of unrest on college campuses. Jewish students don't feel safe. People are obviously outraged at the pro-Hamas sentiment that this administration clearly in some way has just been copying for. Tell us where you think the youth vote goes, and is there sort of this embracement of, conservative values, which really are just American values?
Oh, absolutely, Bianca. This was supposed to be friendly territory for Joe Biden. He was supposed to go to this college, give a commencement speech, take a victory lap, get a round of applause, a standing ovation from the youth, and instead he got the opposite. They stood up and turned their back to the commander-in-chief because they had that little amount of respect for him. But this isn't the only time this week that Joe Biden has lost ground in his own deep blue areas. Just yesterday in New York City, deep blue New York City, not necessarily a Republican stronghold, Bianca. Republicans of all, or Americans of all ages and all political parties lined the streets to stand up against this blatant political persecution for President Trump. President Trump even announced he's having a rally in the Bronx because he's seeing so much support. Biden can't even get 10 people to rally at a Wawa, but Trump's really packing an arena in the Bronx. I mean, look at what's going on here with the youth, but it's crazy, Bianca.
I saw those crowds lining up as he was coming back from the courthouse. I'm sure we'll see more today. Mike, Brilyn dropped some real truth bombs there. As a Democrat, what, Joe Biden really is, if he loses the vote, the youth vote, he's losing the black vote, the Latino vote, the Arab vote. Who's left?
Look, I wouldn't think things are quite as extreme as our other guest implied, but I will say it is an open secret in Democratic circles. There's a lot of whispers that Mr. Biden has a 1968 problem. What they mean by that is that centrist Democrats, conservative Democrats, and there are a few of them, they are leaving the president in droves because they believe that the party has turned too far left. On the other hand of the spectrum, left voters are certainly, as we saw at Morehouse College, disrespecting the president, and there's a lot of talk about them going for a third-party candidate or not showing up to vote at all. So I do think that if the youth vote is depressed or if it is, diminished in any way, that it could make the difference in certain battleground states.
It clearly is a difference because Trump is leading in battleground states. Biden will go to New Hampshire today, the Granite State, a state he really didn't care much about and didn't spend any time with before the primaries. When he talks about the threat to democracy, and, he does like to say that at a lot of these speeches, do you think that's turning kids off, Brilyn, using, that there is this Trump factor here? What's your sense? You've been at the RNC as a speaker. I mean, you're out there with I don't want to say the kids, but the young folks that really are the next generation here who are just absorbing this, I think, with more critical thinking than we've seen in the past.
I'm still 17 for 2 more weeks. You can still call me kid, Bianca.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay,
good. But when we travel the country, a few weeks ago we were in Milwaukee. A few weeks before that we're in Dallas. We're in Des Moines. I was in New York City a month ago. We give speeches at all these places. Some are left, some are right. And every time I talk to people, they're saying they see through what's going on in the country. Biden promised us unity. He gave us division. He promised us peace. He gave us 2 wars and counting. He promised us prosperity, but he gave us a failing economy. And more importantly, he promised us normalcy, Bianca, but he's broken record after record, but not the good ones. My generation's seen through this. They're seeing through the lies that he's saying. He keeps saying he's the pro-democracy president, yet he's the same leader of the same party that tried to take Trump off the ballot. That doesn't sound very pro-democracy to me. So I think our generation's seen through that, Bianca.
17 and pretty articulate here, Mike. How do you push back on anything he just said? I mean, it was.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I have one of the hardest tasks in the world today, which is debating a 17-year-old who is incredibly articulate. And I take my hat off to Brilyn.
That's why we have him. That's right.
Being on national TV, age 17. But I mean, Democrats have traditionally been the party of the youth vote, for better or for worse. The challenge, though, of course, is that the youth are changing quite a bit. This has been a generation that has faced COVID. This has been a generation that has faced a lot of very tough challenges, and they are, rebelling, which is natural for a youth to do so. But the challenge for Mr. Biden as we head into Election Day is for him to remind the youth why the Democratic Party is better for them. And that's what we're going to start seeing in the months and days ahead.
I don't know if it's rebelling. I think the Democratic Party isn't what the Democratic Party was back then. I mean, we got to leave it there because we're out of time. But I think part of this is just realizing American values are under attack, and who is going to restore sort of some balance and some logic in this nation. It's a great conversation. Mike Gatto, Brilyn Hollyhand. I'll have you guys back soon.
Thank you, Bianca.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you,
guys.
Mike.
All right, folks, don't go anywhere. The latest now on what is happening and what we expect to happen in just a few minutes inside that Lower Manhattan